Well, hello there. Welcome to the Obi Thorin Alliance. In today's video, we're going to be reviewing and discussing Mythic Quest Season 2 on Apple TV Plus. If you can, like and subscribe, leave a comment down about your thoughts. And I guess at the start of the video, we'll kind of, in a non-spoiler way, discuss about our thoughts and positive, and then get into the nitty gritty in the spoils discussion. So, in a positive way, Luke, what was your thoughts about season 2, and I guess your thoughts about season 1, because season 1 was a excellent start.
Yeah, so I really liked Mythic Quest as a show that we both watched and I liked it. Do you like season 1?
Yeah, season 1 was excellent. I reviewed it and yeah, it was a great show.
Yeah, I guess for those that didn't see the review, recap of Mythic Quest, that follows a development company that's creating a game that's, I guess, similar to like a World of Warcraft kind of game. Are they called MMO games? MMOs. It's a comedy sitcom where, the developers, they work for someone that's meant to be like an Ubisoft. They just refer to them as Montreal. And it follows their internal arguments and struggles when making a expansion. So season 2, recap season 2 for us.
Basically, the premise of season 2 is they need to develop DLC, and Irons and Pemmy are basically working together and kind of trying to come up with the DLC, and everyone's kind of got their own storyline. What's good? Basically trying to work out what they want to do with their lives and things like that, and it kind of works, but unfortunately we'll get to that in the spoilers discussion, but it kind of falls flat, unfortunately.
Yeah, so it follows another DLC where the first game was an expansion. This one, I know it kind of touches on COVID, change of workplaces. It focuses on a few of, as you describe them to me, like the B characters, like the non-main characters. And they actually get more screen time than the main characters, which was interesting.
A strange choice.
Our thoughts might be because of other projects that they're working on, the main characters. It's overall, I don't think it lived up to the hype of the first season.
But it had potential because season 1 had things that happened that they could have done, like they could have had go into with season 2, but they decided to do other things. But
it was set up well through season 1. Season 2 was different than season 1. It still had its funny moments. I think, again, without trying to give spoilers, it didn't live up to the expectation. It fell a bit flat, as you mentioned. It was not I didn't look forward to each episode coming out like I did the first season, and just kind of felt different. And I personally don't think it was as good as the first season, and we'll discuss a bit later why that is.
It's unfortunate because season 1 laid the groundwork, and in
season 1, they had the flashback episode, which was about the building they were in and people before them that were in that building. So it followed people and in that building, and there was developers before them, and it was one of the most popular and highly rated episodes of the season. And they did the same in this season, but they gave a backstory to the writer, C.W. Longbottom, that's in there. And again, it was surprisingly one of the highest rated episodes of the series. I didn't think much of it, but people seem to like backstories. This season kind of ends in a way that I think leans towards no season 3, but you've got some theories about what season 3 could be about if they do make one. What was your overall thought and maybe like a possible rating you'd give to the season before we discuss more in depth?
Overall thought, didn't like it as much as season 1, but I think if you liked season 1, you'll still like season 2, but you might feel disappointed, but the story was still good and enjoyable, but I still think they had potential. It's kind of weird because they make a choice with story directions and it's kind of like, why? But it's still a good season, but it just makes some weird decisions with story placement. Overall, I'd probably give it a average to mediocre. Definitely not as good as season 1. Don't know if someone hasn't watched season 1 if they would like season 2 as much, but it's kind of a feeling that enjoyed it but kind of disappointed. It's kind of awkward emotions. How did you feel?
Yeah, the same. I thought it was a letdown. My overall rating would be below average, mediocre. It's in comparison to the first season, it just didn't live up to it. I think if it wasn't for... Well, I was interested in Mythic Quest because of the characters that are in it from past projects they're in. And if they weren't in it and they were a no-name cast, I think this show would have seriously struggled. The show had some moments in it that I thought was good, or some that even shocked me that they were in there, but it overall just felt like...
It's all over the shop.
It was all over the shop, but I just felt like it was some kind of like political agenda messaged show where it was all about trying to be diverse, equality, and I'm not against any of those things. I'm supportive of them, but it felt that the series focused more on that than actually telling a story. It was literally just trying to say, here's a same-sex couple, they're interested in each other, how do other people think about it? Oh, here's someone... Like, just always trying to talk about diversity, and the thing is, they're important messages, but you can't make a show where that is the only message. There needs to still be a storyline or something to build off it, and I feel like that's where this show struggled. It focused more on being political and trying to show that they're diverse than actually tell a story.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we'll get to in the spoilers, but unfortunately it does have a story, but it's like out of 100% and focuses on about 60 to 70% the B characters, and then like 30 to 40% like the A characters, and the story actually like doesn't happen until the end. Like, it's weird direction that they chose. It's like something happens and then it doesn't happen until the end. It like other stuff happens that didn't need to happen.
I agree. Okay, so we've both given it a below average rating.
Yeah.
Moving into the spoilers, what do you want to talk about first?
Yeah, I guess for the spoilers, if you don't want to get spoiled, watch the show and then come back to it. I guess the main part of the spoilers is, why did they need to focus on the lesbian couple that are basically the testers? Because personally, kind of liked them in season 1, and then that's why it felt like they made them the main characters, and then it's like the main characters that they had, it's like they're still in the show, but they wanted them to be like not there. It's weird what they chose to do. It's like and it's weird with how their storyline went. It's like Irons even said, "You're with the boss. What do you want to do here?" And all she kept doing is kept like, "Oh, males are this, females are this." It's like it went nowhere, that storyline, even though that's the main one that they focus on. They had a cool storyline with developing the DLC, what only happens in like 3 or 4 episodes.
Yeah, the DLC gets very little focus.
Yeah.
They don't focus on the complications with making it until right at the end.
Yeah.
They give lots of screen time to the two testers, which in the first season they annoyed me a bit how they both liked each other but then wouldn't say anything. And then in this season, they're a couple, but then there's issues. They argue. They're going to leave their job. They're going to go. They aspire to be. One wants to be a developer. One wants to be a writer. And they became the main characters. They were even involved in scenes I didn't feel the need for. There was like Poppy gets a car. She can't drive the car, so then she gives it to Iron. Iron can't drive the car, so then the tester becomes the one that drives the car.
They're chauffeurs.
Yeah, and then the testers then become those two characters like proteges, and I don't know why they felt the need to give them so much screen time for characters that don't mean much. And then they want us to come invested in the fact that they have bigger dreams and they're going to move to Berkeley and study, but I didn't care. Even when CW, he got 2 episodes that were about him, which I thought was interesting. He got the backstory.
Yeah.
And then he got one where...
the conclusion to the backstory.
Yeah, so he got 2 running episodes in a row, but even in that episode, one of the testers was his chauffeur again, and I don't know why they had to give so much screen time to them. And
she was the letdown in that episode, personally. It's like the episode was for the writer CJ and not for her. It's like the point was, I thought, was because of COVID, that's why he wasn't in the show, and then it's like he's finally with someone. It's like, why couldn't he be in the show? It was confusing.
Yeah, and I actually liked how they added him to the show where his face was like an iPad and they were doing the screen time and they made the dummy. I thought that was really clever, and then they go and bring him back into it. They... like that, the character that I can't think of her name because I care so little about her. The one that chauffeured him, is my least favorite character in the show. Her haircut annoys me. Her personality, her personality, her whining attitude. Yeah. And then, as you alluded to, the scene where she's with Iron, and basically everything's always, that's politically incorrect. You can't say that. You can't do this. They really stereotype her as a character that people associate with someone of her sexual orientation. And then Iron basically tells her to get lost. Like, this is your opportunity. You're with the boss. You always say you don't get equal opportunities. This is your chance. And what are you doing? You're whinging about your girlfriend. Like, this is why you're not going anywhere. Because not because of other people, because you care too much about unimportant stuff. And I think I was really surprised they added that, because that to me goes against a lot of things that Apple support, and this is an Apple TV original, so I thought, I'm not surprised they added that. But it was fine. The season also had a few filler episodes, particularly one where it surrounded them all having to sign off on a HR form that basically they did a test and got associated with an animal, and it meant nothing, but it got a whole episode, and that was probably one of the worst episodes.
Which characters, animals did you find the most interesting, or were you like, oh, they made such a big deal about it? It's like, oh, it could have been made an interesting episode, but all the personalities kind of made it not that fun when it could have been interesting. They
made a big deal about it. In real life, if they were to do this test, there wouldn't be that many different options. Yeah. And they all happen to get something different, except for Poppy and Iron.
They got lines.
And the questions was, when they read out a few of the questions, you could have easily just answered them however you wanted. Like, David was stoked because he got a wolf, and then he realizes because he answered the questions around the reverse way, which would have made him a mouse. Yeah. And it was just I don't know why, it was just a filler episode. To me, it felt like this season had 3 to 4 episodes that actually meant something, and the rest were just fillers. Yeah. Which is what lets it down the most. And I guess you could probably watch the season and skip the filler episodes, and it might make it a little bit better. What do you think about the ending?
It's the sort of ending that I could see your opinions that they don't really need a season 3, but I'm kind of mixed feelings if they do a season 3. I would like there to be season 3, but with how season 2 turned out, I'm kind of in a middle, because the problem I have is that they set up perfectly what I thought. I don't know about yourself, Luke, but I thought season 2 was going to be that they were going to develop something else, and that Irons was going to have to like choose between being a game developer and a father. Like, they wasted that in season 1. Instead, they basically chose, we want to force feed you these 2 lesbian characters, when they wasted Iron's potential storyline and characters that are A grade instead of B grade. What was the point of him being the father to the YouTuber? And he's gone in season 2.
Yeah, he didn't feature in it at all. I thought the ending is set up for there to be not another season. Like, I'm a big believer of that. I think it makes a lot of sense that they believe the game's gone as far as it needs to and they've separated ways. If they were then to make another season where they create a new game, I think that's too hard. Like, I think they're starting from scratch again. If the current season was excellent, then you could see why, but I think they in themselves know that season 2 wasn't very good. The fact they had so many fillers makes me think they ran out of ideas. It became repetitive.
Yeah.
It was just the same bickering. You've got Brad, the guy from like the money side of things, and he just wants to make money. He doesn't care about other people. It's just money, money, money. We've got David, the boss that no one respects or treats him as though he's the boss. They live in fear of Montreal. And then you just
the assistant keeps swapping between the male figures.
And you have Poppy and Iron just arguing back and forward. They can't agree upon anything because Iron's the most unlikable character. And Poppy herself is no better.
Yeah.
Like, she actually became really rude. There's episodes where they were, I think it may have been the last one, they were so rude to the testers.
Yeah.
Even though I don't like them, the testers were basically saying, we want to do this with our life, and their response was, we don't care, get out of our face, we're busy. And I don't know, there was no character the only likable character in that show, I think, was David.
Yeah, David and the writer, but he's provocative and just has a crude mouth.
Yeah, he's not the best person, and plus from the backstory we know that his fame came from stealing. Like, he wrote a book, gave it to a famous writer. The famous writer critiqued it and gave him notes, and then he basically just copied word for word what the famous writer gave him, and then he won the award from that.
Yeah.
So, like, even that, he's kind of a fake and a phony. And, I think David's comes out as the only likable character. Everyone treats him like crap. His ex-wife takes all his stuff, and he found love, and he rushed it and proposed to her and freaked her out, and then he was single again. He was the only likable character.
Did you buy that Irons actually developed Mythic Quest? Because the show kind of makes out when he was telling the artist what to do, and then he's like, oh, that's excellent. And then one of the art people were like, should we do more else? And then he's like, no, you run with it. And then the head of the art department made a good claim, shouldn't we do it properly now? And then Irons is like, oh no, we'll do it later.
Yeah, I don't believe it at all. Like, he says that they in one episode in season 1 they talk about him being a genius and developing a game at a young age, but then they also talk in another episode how he worked his way up. He worked in a company and he didn't know what he was doing, and someone taught him everything he knows. So the story actually conflicts itself through his backstory through the season.
Yeah.
And he doesn't come across like he knows what he's talking about. Like, he honestly doesn't. He just comes up with absurd ideas like, let's add this to the game, and then everyone's like, it can't be done. He's like, no, make it happen.
Yeah.
And so he's not really a genius. He just comes up with absurd ideas and expects other people to make it work. But yeah, he became less likable throughout the season.
Did you find it kind of strange that they chose to focus on the B characters instead, like I said earlier, they had potential for interesting things with him actually being a father.
Yeah, I don't know if that would have been that good of a story adding that in, but
I think it would have been better though.
It would have been better, but yeah, focusing on the B characters made no sense. I would have even liked if there was more focus on David. He got a little bit of. He didn't get really any extra screen time, but he didn't get any less. But yeah, I think they chose to focus on the characters people cared about the least.
Yeah. And did you even find their arc? Because the problem that arc is that the tester that was political basically worked out she wanted to be a writer, and it's like, oh, I just wanted to be a writer now. And then when it came down to it, she was the one that ended up going to Berkeley, and it's like, I was thinking to myself, couldn't you do a writing course where your partner is instead of moving to Berkeley?
Well, it's because her partner was going to Berkeley. And then she didn't get in, and then she goes, oh, well, I'm still going to go. And yeah, it's a bit strange. She hung out with CW for one episode, and then suddenly she wants to be a writer.
Yeah.
Does she even know how to write? Is she any good at writing?
Who knows?
And to get into Berkeley, like prestigious university, doesn't seem likely.
Yeah.
They also seem. I think they're way older than what the show tries to make out. I think the show tries to make out like they're 20 or 21 and they're college students, but they're clearly much older than that. And then her girlfriend, she, just because Poppy is a great developer, she wants to be a developer too and learn to code, and she can't make anything. She makes one game and it's horrible.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's lots of downfalls to the season. We could probably talk about them all day, but at the end of the day, it's almost not worth it. It's just that we know that it's not a good show, or the season wasn't as good.
Did you like with what happened to Bradley, with how he took the fall and made himself out to be a nice guy instead of letting... I think the show should have let the annoying yelling assistant do it. She basically went back to David after swapping between the three males in the group.
Yeah, it's an interest. Like, her as a character, in theory, sounded all right, but she became annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brad taking the fall. Yeah, he goes on about he doesn't want anyone to know he's a nice guy, but then he does a nice thing, but then it's also for a bad motive because he's like, oh, I'll get street cred if I go to jail. And the FBI or whoever comes there is like, no, we're not even arresting you. And he's like, come on, put some handcuffs on me. So then he pretends to be handcuffed.
She got the handcuffs.
Yeah, well, she put like a shirt over it or something just to make it look like you're being handcuffed because he wanted to seem tough. But that makes no sense because if you're done for insider trading, I don't think too many people would want to hire you after that. So again, it's another story arc that doesn't make sense. And that's why I think it's wrapping up, because he's gone to jail.
Yeah.
The two main characters have left and they're supposedly going to make their own game. The testers are gone. I think that's it. I think the show finishes. I don't think there's another season.
Would you like there to be other season, or you're kind of like me? If there's one, probably watch it. If there isn't one,
if there is one, I'll definitely watch it. But it would need to be maybe even Poppy and Iron returning or something. But there'd have to be a real reason to make it worth it, and it would need to be substantially better. And I think the testers would need to be gone. Yeah. I'd like to see Brad back, because I don't dislike him as a character. But there's too many conflict. There's literally this show, instead of having one character that's conflicting the others that you love to hate or you just hate, they all conflict. Like, as a business, not one of them can agree on anything. Yeah. They somehow all argue and try and like sneak around and do something against the other person's back, and then we're meant to believe that makes something successful. Doesn't seem likely to me.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that happened with season 2, but
it's alright. Season 1 was a good show. Season 2 was a letdown. If there's a season 3, it might recover it. But the concept was good, and for what it was worth, it was worth watching, I guess.
Did you find it cool that Snoop Dogg came on the show?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I don't know what the incentive was. That
Yeah.
was maybe as a he owed a favor to someone on the show and did as a friend, or yeah, I don't know why Snoop Dogg was on it, but it was fine. It was a decent additive to the show.
So I guess if season 3 comes out, hopefully it will be better than season 2, but depends how the writing goes.
Yeah.
Thanks for helping, Luke.
No worries.
Hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe. See you in the next one. Let the force be with you. Bye-bye.